welcome to my channel. So in this tutorial today I'll be making a buba with this lace. Okay, so I will need a top length which is 25 inches. My fabric is already folded into two, that is I brought the edge of the wrapper, the edge lace, the one that is up and down together. So the upper part here is folded, it shouldn't be open. So even if you are using a wrapper, it should still be folded the same way. You fold the wrapper in such a way that the upper part will be folded, not open. There shouldn't be an opening there because the shoulder is not going to be joined. So that is folded into two. So I'm folding it into two again this way. So that I have it on. So that this is folded into four right now. And the bust measurements I'm working with is 45 inches. So I'll have my 45 inches divided by 4. 45 divided by 4 is going to give us 11.25. It's not up to half. So I mark my 1 inch seam allowance right there. So from that 1 inch seam allowance I marked, I'm going to measure my 11.25 and adjust my cloth like so. So make sure everywhere rhymes. Then the edge lace is going to be a down part like that. That's the seam allowance. And I folded with the bust measurement. I do usually use the hip measurement because at the down part right there, like 4 inches before you get to the edge of the clothes, it's going to be open, so it's going to be very free for the hip because the top is not going to get to the down part of the hip like that. Okay, so we have it on full like that. The next thing now is to mark my neckline. The width now depends on the size of the person and how wide or how the person wants the neck to be or how you want it to be. So for this now I marked 3.5 for the width of the neck. Then the depth I marked 4.5. So I have 4.5 for the depth there and 3.5 for the width. So you can make it with your cuff or you can use your free hand. You connect it like so. So that's the only thing you're going to be cutting out of this buba. Just cutting out the neck. You're not measuring shoulder, you're not measuring the arm or anything. All you have to do is fold your fabric with your bust measurements, and I think when you take your measurements for the buba, it's going to be free because the buba is always free. So either you measure it free on the body or you take the actual measurements and add allowance to use like as much as you want it to be free. But you shouldn't be too big, shouldn't be too tight. It's going to be tight anyway. It's free. Buba is always free. So I notched the neck there and the shoulder so that it's easy for me to know where to place the sleeve when I want to put the sleeve. Then how do we take the measurement for the sleeve on the buba? You take the measurement from the middle of the shoulder. That is the middle of the neck right there. Place the measurement right there. From the middle of the neck, you still the middle of the shoulder to wherever you want the sleeve length to be. Be it long, short, or wherever you want it to be. That's depending on your choice. It could be long, 3/4, or short. So now I want to fold the sleeve. So I will fold it into two. Though I'm cutting the two sleeves at once, so I have two fabric there folded into two. So the round sleeve there is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So I mark 9 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. That's 10 inches altogether. So I'll make that into a straight line. So the next thing now is to mark the sleeve length. Just like the way I showed you, the way you take the measurement of the sleeve on the mannequin just now. So the measurement from the middle of the neck to where the shoulder is supposed to be is what we have on the body of the clothes. So that's the middle neck where the clothes is folded, is the middle where the neck is. So the 11.5. So you marked 11.5 that time. 11.25 rather. So that 11.25 I have to remove it from the sleeve length. The sleeve length is 27. So that will be 11.5. 11.25 to get 27. Then I'll add half allowance right there. So I have my allowance there. So we are removing the 11.25, which is on the body of the clothes when it's folded into 4, just like when you have the front folded into 2, the back folded into 2. That's half of the shoulder from the middle of the neck. So remove that measurement from the sleeve length. Then you mark your sleeve length like that plus sewing allowance. So I have it cut out right there. So the next thing to do now is to join the sleeve to the body. It's as simple as that, but it's a very simple dress to make. And before I cut the BUBA, I already cut the wrapper. I used 2 years and 14 inches for her. Her hip is still 46. So it down to depends on how big the person is. So I'm going to notch where I'm going to join to each other right there. And notch the shoulder on the BUBA as well. So those places that I notch is where you place on each other when you want to join it. So we have the notched parts on the sleeve and the shoulder that is notched as well, so that it will be at the right place when you're sewing. So it's actually better to sew the seam allowance on the sleeve, then you place it on the BUBA like that and sew. So I'm going to show us how to do that on the machine right now. It's actually very easy. This should be the easiest way of joining it. Join the 1-inch seam allowance on the sleeve, place the notched part on the sleeve on the notched part on the shoulder of the dress, then sew from that notch to where you have the sleeve joined. That's where the joining is on the sleeve. So that's exactly what I'm going to do on the sewing machine now. I've sewn my 1-inch allowance on the sleeve right there. So the next thing to do now is to open the BUBA from the front. It is the front of the fabric. Then I'll arrange it so well. Look for where you notched on the shoulder, because the shoulder is not cut out in any way. That's why you need to notch it to know exactly where to place the sleeve so that it will balance. If not, if you place it on the wrong side, it will affect the neck and it will still affect the length of the BUBA because it won't balance. So I'm placing the notched part on each other right now. So from that notched part now, I'm going to sew all the way down to where my seam allowance is, which I've already joined already. So I'm going to sew my 1-inch allowance right there. You can see where I joined there, where the allowance is on the sleeve. That's exactly where the sewing is going to stop on both sides. So I'll sew from the shoulder down to the seam on this side first. Okay, so sew it like so. Please, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that when I upload a new video you get notified. So I have it right there where the seam allowance is on the sleeve, where I've joined already, which is going to be on the armpit. Okay, then from the notch on the shoulder on the BUBA, I'm going to sew to the other side of the sleeve to still meet the seam allowance on the sleeve, which has been joined already. From the shoulder down to the other side. Okay, and mark it with chalk so that you can see that place very well. So from the shoulder right down to where I have the seam allowance joined already on the sleeve. And exactly what we'll do here is the same thing we did on the second sleeve. So I've sewn it down again. Start down from the other side, as it's from the seam side back to the shoulder. So we have it like so. Bring it out. Then I'll turn it now and sew from the armpit now down to the top length, to the edge of the top. And because I want to open the down parts, I won't take that sewing completely to the down part because of the hip, so that the top will not be tight on the hip. So what I'll do to mark my allowance there, I want to see it very well. So I'm going to sew on that line. Before the line, I will measure 4 inches upward from the edge of the top, and that's where I'm going to open, just like a slit. So from the armpit, the same 1 inch I used to sew the sleeve, the same line I'm going to bring down. And this fabric is having a stone, so when you sew, you check and remove stone. If not, the needle will be broken. And if you are making this with wrapper and it's not lace, you do exactly the same thing. Especially if your wrapper is having pattern, you allow the pattern to fall at the down part of the top like this, and the down part of the sleeve, that is the edge. Like I said, the wrapper, I cut the wrapper out before I cut the BUBA. I used 2 years and 14 inches for the wrapper. I used 2 years, depends on how big the hip of the person is, the size of the hip. From 2 years, 9 inches, 3 years, 12 inches, 14 inches, so it depends. So where I open there, where I have the slit right there, I'm going to fold the edges inside. So the same thing is applicable to the other side. Just do the same thing right there. Fold the 2 edges inside. Turn to the other side. And now it's folded there. Please leave a comment, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. BUBA is one of the easiest dress to make. BUBA and wrapper. So, like I said, you do the same thing on the other side, and the neck of the dress now is what we turn with bias. So this is what we have here. I've done one side. So the next thing to do is to turn the neck with bias. Okay, you can see the neckline right there. So we make use of a black bias because the background of this dress, the net on it is black. You can actually use it either black or green. You use a matching thread, a matching bias, matching thread. So from the good side now, I place the bias and sew that tiny line, the first line that is there. The bias is folded on 2 sides. So the side you place on the dress now is the one you sew all around, which is what I've done right now. And turn it and sew the other side too. Turn the bias inside right there. So it's to fold the bias inside now. Sew it all round. Sew the tip of the bias, yes, the tip right there. And our BUBA is almost ready. It's very simple. Just the neck, you have to be very careful, shouldn't be too wide. though it still depends on preference, but it shouldn't be too wide. It shouldn't be too small so that the hair can enter, because it's not a dress that will have zipper. Okay, thanks for watching. If you find it useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. See you in my next video. Thank you.